Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session, Cognitive Therapy. Um, I think it was relevant to bring this message from Mr. Nelson Mandela, since we're talking about changes, and of course, every time we want to make anything new, it looks very impossible, and that's true, and it is until basically it is done. So during this week, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss about communication. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the resources that the brain has to make changes. What is the job in defining one of the jobs of the brain, and also how we define and do meaning to our feelings. We're going to talk about labeling others, and we're going to talk about intentions. So we start with this. Again, changes in our life are very essential. This is straightforward if we want to make any mental or physical uh, change in our life. So now, another thing that we have to remember as we begin this presentation is the fact that happiness is not to be searched anywhere else. This is something that we have already, and it's inside us. So we talk about this. Unfortunately, when we're going under a lot of stress, that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult really to understand, stress on self, because we do run through stress and we put an image, and of course, we put, this mask of, the happy, worker, the mask of the happy father, the mask of the happy friend, and this is, a challenge because, it creates a series of problems and the stress mechanism continues working because not only I'm dealing with my own challenges, but also I'm dealing in trying to maintain this, you know, the image of what basically is not happening right now. So thinking and feeling the same way, this is what it brings coherence to our brain and to our body, and that means that as I feel that I'm a happy husband, okay, and I think about a happy husband, then I bring coherence to my body. So we'll discuss about this today. Now, one thing to reflect about our life, in regard to our thoughts, okay, what what influences in it, okay? Really, all our life, it is just a mirror of our thoughts. Whatever I have placed in here, circuitries, whatever thoughts I have, this is going to be, you know, putting together all the pieces, around my surrounding, the way how my sons behave with me, my finances, the relationships, it's just nothing but a reflection of my own thoughts. Now, uh, you know, for the most part, a lot of psychologists and some of the science neurologists, they, bring that this. What it really is happening is that our life is nothing but the way how our family, behave, that affects our life and affects our emotions and our thoughts and affect everything we are, and also our peers and our spouse and behaviors of others, the working setting, my socioeconomic status. This is what psychologists and neurobiologists been telling us for a long time. But of course, new science, new research have found that that's not the case. Actually, basically, we do put together information, we wire and create some neurocircuitries. These neurocircuitries, are going to be installed as files in our subconscious. And then now everything that we see from our external world, it has to be funneled, and it has to be sift through this information that we previously, put together as we repeat our thoughts and as we create all these circuitries in the brain. So another thing that is good to bring as a remark is the fact that only about 5%, of our life, it is influenced by these components. And the 95% of our response it has to do with ourselves and the way how we think. So really, when I respond, in a way that it shows indifference, to somebody else, whether it might be my husband, my brother, my sister, my parents, or some coworkers, this is nothing but the results of thought that I have put together in the previously. So now what can I say if somebody else, has a behavior, that is not compelling? So yeah, there is some influence, but it's only 5%. Okay, so I just bring this up so we all can take serious consideration in the way how we've been thinking. Okay, in regard to happiness, in regard to feelings and emotions, most of the things, are mainly, okay, a result of previous information that we've been setting as we've been putting label on people, things, and the mirror of our life. It's right there in our mind. We decide exactly through the years how we put together information, how we associate things and feelings, and some other neurological activities and connectivity, how we associate and how we create circuitries. Okay, now we're going to start by giving you the assignments for the week. We talked last week. We need to make changes. This course, is going to take place, but changes, takes a little bit of work. So there's going to be work here. If we expect to change in 1 hour, after we have spent 20 years thinking and feeling the same way, that is just not going to happen. So, but, these techniques that we have put together and all the information that we place with the purpose of helping everyone here in the audience, it is just clinical and it's based on science. Okay, so here's a routine that we need to start. Okay, why do we bring a routine? Because we need to produce chemicals. Everything that the brain put together, information, is, it has to be translated into chemicals. Now, if I need to start making changes, I need to have new, clear intentions. Okay, and this has to be combined with elevated emotions, elevated feelings of peace, feelings of happiness, feelings of gratitude, okay, feelings of integrity. So here is assignments. We're going to start doing this, and this, it can be done every morning before you go to work, when you wake up, before you get out of bed, okay, or after you get out of bed. So take a time when there is no interactions, you are by yourself, you're going to close your eyes and you're going to think about 2 or 3 things that it makes you happy, okay, right now, this moment. So once when you choose, one at a time, of course, you're going to start visualizing, close your eyes. Let's say, if it comes to my mind, that my grandkid, it made me feel happy, then I'm going to try to visualize, okay. Remember last week, we talked about watching and driving just by maintaining attention to the rearview mirror. This is a no-no, okay? But in this occasion, I want you to look into the rear view mirror, but only on the things that make you happy. If I'm thinking my grandkid, then I'm gonna, bring the memory. Let me just tell you, this is not difficult because memory is there. It's not going anywhere. Even if I don't feel like, happy right now, I can navigate my mind and look into my little grandkid when he hold my finger, or perhaps when he give me the first smile, okay? Or maybe when he start walking, or maybe draw a picture of me or him together with a heart in the middle. Okay, well, this is what I mean. Okay, when we start thinking of this, it's not only an activity that has to be intellectually. We gotta have to bring, the visualization. Okay, and this is a job that requires a little bit of attention. No, of course, you have to maintain the focus on all these good events in your life. The next thing is, we're gonna bring the feelings. As I look in my mind to my little grandkid, as he's holding my finger, I can see it, and then, I can start feeling a wonderful thing that I felt, okay, as I was visualizing this, okay. All right, so we're gonna do this 2 or 3 things every morning, think about something that it makes you happy, perhaps my wife, or maybe, this new thing that I learned and I feel better about myself, or maybe, an opportunity or a job position or whatever you feel makes you feel happy right now. Okay. If for any reason, your night didn't went quite well, or you're going through a very tough time in your life, okay, if you don't can think of nothing makes you feel happy now, then regardless, choose one or two things, okay, that would you make you happy, okay, that will make you happy. Let's say, I'm having problems with my spouse, and I'm not very happy or fond of her. I still can think, okay, if my relationship was great, of course, this will make me happy. And then I start navigating, trying to think and remember in the past moments when this relationship was a lot better than what it was right now. Be sure that you don't derail yourself from this sequence of positive and wonderful, visual moments in your experience with your spouse. Okay, and also you're gonna be, bringing those feelings. Okay, if memory comes from the moment that I hold her hand for the first time, I'm gonna try to feel that. Okay, very good. That's the one part of the routine. The next part is, and I'll tell you what it's gonna do with your body. Okay, as you do this. Okay, next part is you're gonna think of 2 or 3 things that it makes you feel gratitude. Okay, let's say I'm grateful for my transportation. Let's just bring something like that. Okay, so I'm gonna visualize my car. Okay, and I'm gonna think that it takes me here and there. Okay, and it's very reliable. And then I'm gonna try to remember those times when I didn't have a car, or maybe when my old car wasn't working properly. So visualization is good. Now the next thing is when it comes to gratitude, and we are doing this routine, it's not only make a checklist. Okay, I feel grateful for my car. No, we have to really think, associate, let your mind navigate and bring you through an association of feelings, and then bring the feelings of gratitude. Let's say I'm grateful for my spouse. Same thing. Think of the reason why you feel grateful about her, and then bring the feelings. Okay. Now, why this is critical? Because we need to have a production of certain chemicals that only comes when there is happiness and when there is gratitude. Okay, these two connective activities, basically, it makes the brain produce serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, vasopressin in the case of the men. You're going to also be making endorphins. Okay, now here's the deal. Okay, these components, these neurotransmitters, are going to travel through your nerve system into all your cells. And I want to remind you that your brain produces chemicals for every thought that you produce. And it depends on the quality of the thought, depends on the type of thought. It can produce chemicals that it will bring your body to a state of healing and repairing and regeneration and growth. Okay, and this is what we want to achieve here right now. So this routine, it is critical. Now, the next part, now we got to make changes, no? So we already defined last week. We talked about defining the areas that you need to change, look into your status at the moment, and then project the changes you need to do. So we're going now on the area of health. So as I'm in this routine, I'm going to visualize myself stronger, younger, happier, with less weight, if that's a problem. And this is important. The visualization, it goes like this. See, let's say right now I'm 40 pounds overweight, and I'm clear that I'm overweight and need to change. There's no excuses, But I'm not going to think about that. I'm just going to project in my routine. I can see myself with this, 40 pounds less in my weight. I can see myself thinner. I can see myself energetic. And the visualization requires, some work. You cannot be derailed. So if your mind wanders and goes somewhere else, bring it back. So you need to practice this, okay? And I'm going to do the same, in my relationship with people like my spouse. If my marriage is great, now I can visualize making it wonderful, okay? I can visualize this making it fantastic. If I have not a good relationship with a child, or I have a good one, I want a better one, so I can visualize. Now, with these components, there's things that I need to do, okay? For example, in the area of health, okay, I have to choose one or two things that I will do today to improve my physical and mental health, okay? In this other part, I'm going to choose one or two things that will help me to improve my relationship. Okay, let's say my relationship with my son is not great, then what can I do? I need to think. Okay, perhaps today I'm going to invite him for lunch, or maybe I'm just going to send him a text. Okay, with my spouse, it could be okay. Today I can help her and I can do the dishes, or maybe I can make a phone call in the way home and I say, honey, is there anything that you need today? Okay, to help you that I can get it from the store. Or you can come up with a number of ideas. Once when you get used to the routines, you can do that. Okay, same thing in your spiritual life. Growth is important. So choose one or two things that you will do today to improve your relationship with God, whatever they might be. Go and help a neighbor, probably be more thoughtful, or maybe start praying, or pray, or maybe you pray more meaningful, or maybe learn about God a little more. All right. In the area of finances, we do the same. Visualize changes. You don't have enough money. See yourself paying out your bills. See yourself, with, whatever vision you want to have of you. Okay, this is important. And then make your projects to make changes. Let's say if I want to improve my personal finances, maybe I need to start learning more in my profession. Maybe I need to pay more attention to what I'm doing. Maybe I need to spend less money. Okay. Maybe I need to be a little bit wise in the way how I spend the money. All right. Very good. Now, how are we going to make the changes? Okay. The changes, I give you the first assignment. We're going to use some genetic resources. The body has already resources, and we're going to use the resources, okay, to actually help us, okay, to improve, our life. So these resources are basically in our own body. We're going to discuss about that, okay, in a little bit. See, our brain here is communicating with the whole body. Okay, this is through our nerve system, sympathetic, parasympathetic nerve system. We'll talk a little bit more about that. 70 trillion cells. Oops, 70 trillion cells. Sorry. Are in constant communication with the brain. Okay. Every thousandth of a second, there is what's called information goes in and information goes out. Okay, and the brain tells the body, how to do things. The body sends a response every time there is a need, but the body also sends information to the brain in case you start being stuck in some of these stress, emotionals, and you are increasing some unreasonable thoughts. So there's going to be emotions that are being made by your body as a response to the excess of these stress hormones. Okay. All right. In regard to the resources, you're going to use the Hazel gyros. Okay. This is for behavior performance. It's going to help us with voice perception. It's going to be the task that creates a stimulus. There's assignments we're going to give you, and I'm going to talk to you about that. Okay, the brain actually has 200 different types of cells, 200 different types of neurons. All right. And these cells are distributed through, the whole brain. Now, these cells, they communicate with each other, okay? Some are communicating a long distance, some are communicating a short distance, but these cells also, they make chemicals. And then there is areas of the brain that are connecting to your vocal cords, but before there is any direction of communication, there is actually an evaluation of all information related to a particular task or intention. So we're going to use, our voice, to make your changes. So I don't know if you notice, every time there is some kind of depression, the person talks very slow, it's just the low is very low, we talk very slow, and and this is what we do. So we're going to show you, how to utilize your voice to start helping you creating some elevated emotions. The direction of information comes from the brain to the body, but the body also sends information back. So if, for example, I'm under some kind of depression, my whole body, it feels ache, I'm tired, and I'm also with, little energy, and the posture in my body is going to start changing, okay? And this is due to the activity that's going on in the brain, chemicals that are being sent into the body. Now, the body can actually do things, okay, to help the brain to change a little bit on the chemical activities, and we're going to use some of these resources, okay? Neocortex, parietal, midbrain, reticular formation, these is areas of the brain are very important, okay? Mainly connection has to be going on, okay, between these two areas, and any area here depends on the kind of connective activity. So the effect of cortisol in communication is clear, and we're going to help through these stress protocols, to help you lower your cortisol levels, okay? In regard to dorsal cingulate cortex, this area of the brain helps you to evaluate your own thoughts, okay? I'm going to teach you how to do that so you don't fall in the trap to run into just an automatic default setting, okay? Muscles, we're going to use muscles, okay, to stimulate information up into the brain and, help you to get the stress level, to lower down, okay? In regard to sympathetic and parasympathetic enteric nerve system, these areas of the brain are affected, every time there is an excess stress. So there are some techniques that are going to be shown that you have to practice. That's going to help you to get this on balance. Okay, cerebellum part of the brain, okay, very close connect to, every cell here through the nerve system. So we're going to give you some of the practice and techniques that helps you to be sure that there is some connection there. Finally, okay, metacognition, very critical for changes, okay? You need to develop the skills to observe your own thoughts, observe your own memory, observe your own behavior. So we're going to teach you about how to do that. All right. We talk about the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve system. These nerves come along this way. Okay, there is nerves that comes out through your disc, and then there is a bunch of different, highways and nerves that are coming all over the place. Okay, and there is sympathetic comes up this way, up, and it's connecting to areas of your face, and of course, some other areas of the body. And then you have your parasympathetic nerve system coming out this way too. So basically, these core are nerves that are coming out of this section. They are the sympathetic, and this other core is the parasympathetic nerve system. Okay. Every time that there is any activity in any organ, there's going to be both working. Okay. The brain sends information through the sympathetic. Sympathetic send the message through electrical information or through chemicals. And then once when that happens, then this stops, and then parasympathetic takes over. And then this stop, and the sympathetic takes over. And this is a continuous work that is taking place in your nervous system, okay? Just an example of that is the heart, no? Your heart contracts and dilates. So what is happening? Every time contracts, your sympathetic sends a signal with chemicals and electrical charges. When the heart relaxes, then there is the parasympathetic, okay? And then that stops, and then it goes to sympathetic, and contracts again, and then relax again. And every organ has a continuous information coming from the brain, to maintain activity. Your intestines do the same, the stomach do the same, so there is a lot of this sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system activity. If there is a lot of stress, through time, eventually there is an imbalance. So there's going to be no balance between those two systems, and that is a problem, because it will not only affect your whole body, but it will probably eventually can create some serious problems like metabolic problems. It can create hormonal problems, or it can create some other issues or problems that can even affect your own brain. So we have to be sure that we create this balance into these systems. Okay, so those systems are very important to maintain balance. Now, our brain, important part of our body. Our brain is an organ. Okay, basically the brain serves you. Okay, the brain is to serve you. Okay, it is an organ. Okay, it has cells, 100 billion of them. It has different regions. It has different types of cells. It makes different kind of components. Because the function of the brain, one of them is to protect you. Okay, so it's protect your body, and this is the job that the brain has to do. Okay, neurons respond to stimulus from the external environment. Okay, whatever they might be. So the brain will protect your body, will protect whatever is going on inside. Something happens in the outside world, okay, whatever they might be. Okay, and here is basically your mom, and is your sister, and is your spouse, and there's your kids. So this is the outside world. This is your car. There is, the parking lot, or the place where you work, and everything else that's not part of you. It's not part of your skin. It's not part of your organs. Not part of your brain. This is your outside world. So basically, through your senses, in this case, if we're talking about your eyes, your eyes get the information. There are nerves that are coming, and then this information is going to go, somewhere here, the thalamus. The thalamus will relay information to the neocortex and to the limbic area. And actually, there's going to be a consensus of what do that means. Okay, is this my wife and I love her? Then that means good. Okay, or maybe this is just somebody that I don't love, and then that means something else. So now the way how the brain responds to any stimulus from the outside world, okay, in this case, we're going to talk only about the psychological part. I'm not going to talk about the biology. We talked about this last week. I'm going to briefly touch on it. But mainly, the brain will give you joy or pain. This is the job. And that depends on what this means, what it means. Okay, what I'm saying is, here's something, and it means something. Or it means something different, and that will depend exactly on what kind of information you have placed in your body. Now, the job of the brain is for protection. This function allows the maintenance of homeostasis. Okay, and I'll touch briefly on this on the next page, and also on how the body will actually also has a role into every single activity, that protection, and how it helps every organ to assure that the information that comes from here, down here, it activates the proper system to help bringing everything back to protection. Okay, now homeostasis, okay, one of the functions of the brain is to protect it. Okay, so every time anything goes out of order under any internal chemicals, any change in the body by toxicity, infection, trauma, okay, the presence of danger or change the internal environment, then homeostasis occur, the brain detects it, and turn the stress mechanism. So if, let's say, I have some bacteria that came in here inside my body, then what will happen is, this homeostasis is going to be out of balance. Now, things cannot stay out of balance. So what the body is going to do, the brain is going to do as soon as this happens, let's say, then the brain sends signals to different parts of the body. In this case, the adrenals that are behind, right on top of your kidneys. These adrenals will produce chemicals. These chemicals is to help to bring everything back to normal. Okay, I have an infection, so that means there is toxics creating, and there is bacteria that are eating me. So eating out of my cells, eating what I need. Okay, and there is danger. That means danger. So now the body has to do a series of escalate activities to bring everything back to normal. The stress mechanism is going to turn on. We're going to have a lot of inflammatory agents, okay, to begin the process of healing, killing those bacteria. Okay, this process is important to help with restoration of a balance. So homeostasis, wonderful. Okay, we can turn the stress mechanism by just thinking too. Okay, now this could be just a perception, not real danger, but still, the body's going to be thrown out of balance. Okay, and there's going to be something that got to be done, to put everything back together. Okay, and now homeostasis can be also altered if we are psychologically under stress. See, turning this mechanism over and over and over. Okay, because we're just thinking, then there is going to be some problems eventually. Okay, so the balance comes, right after everything is put back together. Okay, wonderful system. Okay, homeostasis, balance. Okay, stress, chronic stress, bad. Stress by danger, good. That's not going to make you sick, but stress, created by thoughts, and this can be throw everything out. It's if an episode or event occurs in our life that disrupt our emotional state, the brain produces endorphins and benzodiazepine to mitigate the emotional pain produced and reduced inside it. Okay, now this is an amazing system. Okay, that whether it is an infection coming inside my body by bacteria, the homeostasis make possible to produce inflammation. There is immune cells moving there, killing the bacteria. Some system has to be stopped just to be sure that energy is available for the healing part. Now, if it's anything that happens with danger in our body, the same, changes in the body, changes in the brain, temporary, things, some mechanism has to stop because we got to run. Okay. Now, if this is psychological, okay, then it's a problem. Okay, because this is going to lead to chronic diseases, chronic stress. It's going to affect us, and it can actually turn all this upside down, and then we can have problems somewhere here, or maybe here, or maybe here, okay, or maybe or maybe everywhere. So not good stuff. Not very good for the body. Okay, now that we understand, how the brain has the ability to do this, and how our own thoughts can really hack the whole system and create some problems, we're going to talk a little bit about the brain because, we're going to discuss some other things. Now we understand resources. We're going to talk about communication. Let's just go by discussing first, our conscious and subconscious. Our brain made out of 100 billion cells. Okay. And then we have cells, basically, has a body and it has an extension. This is called axon. This is dendrites, okay? And now it can be branches. So one cell here can communicate with another 20,000 cells at the same time. How it does that? Well, because, let's see an example, no? This axon, okay, this has certain information. This has the same type of information that is required. So this axon is going to communicate with a dendrite here, okay, and this cell will talk, okay. Now, this axon can have another branch, and it will communicate with other cell here, okay, through synaptic points, okay. Now, of course, this is I can create a circuitry just as like highways, There's a lot of cells, One cell can have about 20,000 different files. Wonderful. It can communicate and create trillions of circuitries, communication circuitries, okay. Now, if 5% of all our cells are assigned to the conscious, 5% of all the neurons, and 95% of all our cells in the brain are assigned to the subconscious, okay. Now, the conscious is the one that this is the one you use when you are thinking, okay. So with your conscious, you can think in the future, you can think in the past. The subconscious cannot think in the past or the future. Everything is today, okay. Everything is just today, even though it happened 20 years ago. See, I start thinking about what my father did when I was 20 years old, or my neighbor did, or my friend, or my spouse, a year or 10 years ago. When I think about it, it's like if it happened right now, okay? So how this work? Well, here it is, okay? I can choose to think right now of anything. Okay, let's say I'm thinking right now, I think that my neighbor is a foolish man. And then information is, and thoughts are not just placed in a cloud, okay, when you're not thinking of them. And you bring it back when you start thinking. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, thoughts are being processed, okay, and they're being stored in neurons. So here is what I'm thinking, okay, and then I think again in the same thing, then I recruit another neuron. So I'm recruiting neurons. I think that he's foolish, here's another one, okay, and then I think again, here's another one. So every time I'm recruiting a neuron, these neurons have to connect. Let's say I recruit another one here. That guy is just a foolish man. So this thing continue communicating. So this is how you're making your circuitries in the brain. So of course, there's not only one information in that neuron. There's thousands of information. So, and if I think about this over and over, so basically this is what is called circuitry. The brain produces chemicals. And let me explain you how this actually works here. So where are these conscious neurons? They're everywhere. They spread to the different parts of the brain. Okay, where is the subconscious one? And most of the conscious are here. And this is the frontal lobe, neocortex, right in this area, but you got some here. Subconscious everywhere. You got a lot more spread all over the place. Okay. So basically, I start my thinking by using my conscious part, okay? If I repeat these thoughts, the brain will make chemicals. We talked about this last week. If these thoughts are productive, they are really positive, and they are not degrading anyone, okay? There's ethics and morals and all this stuff, then the brain produces chemicals that will be sent to the body, okay, and we talk about this. They can be endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, vasopressin, and some other chemicals. And so now, the body respond. So I'm gonna bring one cell of my body here. I got 70 trillion cells, okay, and then, there is influence of these chemicals. There's nutrients here, and there's hormones, and the neurons here shoot the information back once these chemicals are sent here. And if I continue now, if I use this information now, the cells respond. The cells are going to be growing, and they're going to be healthy. Okay, the cells respond. The signals are sent back through the nerve system, back into the brain. And the message is, this is good, no? Just keep thinking what you think, and this is positive, and it's good. Okay, but what if I think something negative? If I put some corrosive thoughts, well, things change now. The same process, neurons start building together, circuitries, and then chemicals are produced. This time are not these chemicals, they're different. We're going to produce cortisol. We talked about this, some of the chemicals, and now the information here is different. Now the cells are not going to be growing. Cells are going to be protecting themselves. Okay. If this is not a real threat, if it's only thoughts creating, by, being created, all these by these circuitries that were created by thoughts, then the body knows that it's not a real threat. So if the stress mechanism was turned on just by thoughts, the body will respond and will respond back. Okay, and this response from the body is what we call emotions. Negative emotions are bring by negative thoughts. Okay, resentment, anger, feeling insecure. Okay, all these are negative emotions. Feeling constantly sad. Okay, and all these feelings, of being judgmental, of jealousy, and all these things. Okay, a comparing mind. This is created by negative thoughts. So it is a response from the body. Okay, so now if we don't make the changes, okay, this is what will happen. Let me tell you. Okay, positive emotions are being wired together, and this is going to be safe inside this part. There is what is called the limbic area. If you look at it, right behind this neocortex, this cortex area. So we're going to have the amygdala. So negative emotions are going to be filed in one of the neurons in the amygdala. Now the positive emotions are going to be placed into the hippocampus. What's the relevance of this? Because based on these emotions, it is what the brain is going to do, what it's supposed to do. Okay. Now, remember this, that as we think in these negative thoughts, we're going to bring, the chemistry change into our body too, and the response from the body. If we don't pay attention to this and we don't stop thinking the way we've been thinking, then now, the suffering begins, and the pain, the emotional pain begins. So now this is basically what we got to understand very clear. This is make implicit the memory. So we make implicit memory. This is when we wire and we actually file this in the amygdala and in this area, and now there is going to be neurons in your subconscious where you're going to actually file this. You're going to have a file, and there's going to be a meaning to that. Okay. So, anyways, so this is what the subconscious, and this is not, the role of the subconscious is not bad. It's just to memorize things. It is just like a tape recorder. Okay. How it began? With thoughts. Who created thought? We do. Okay. Is it the brain that make a mistake? No. We just simple put our attention, align our thoughts with labeling things, improperly, align it with corrosive thoughts, and then we make these chemicals. And then there is eventually a file in the subconscious. That means, hey, you learn it by memory, you know it very well, it's memorized it, now it goes automatic. Same as when you learn how to drive a car. First time that your uncle or father took you to the road to teach you how, you put all your attention, you put your conscience, in trying to figure, okay, where's the brake, and then you tell your feet to move and press the brake that is in the middle of the lower part, and then he teach you about where is the wheels, move your hands, hold it, and how to turn the engine on, and where the mirror is, all those details, and information starts, wiring, in the subconscious. Okay. Once when this is memorized, and then you make it implicit because you start practicing, then it's going to be save into subconscious. Then you got to file and how to drive, how to, and then this is why when you are driving and you talking to your daughter, pleasantly, you can drive without even remember all the street that you were driving. Who was driving? Your subconscious, okay? Now, what if I have information that is not good? I misinterpret something, I start thinking negative thoughts against somebody else. Same thing. The subconscious will label that, and you're going to have, information automatic. Remember the subconscious is very fast, 40 million bits per second. The conscience is only 2,000 bits per second. It's a big difference. Subconscious can really, very fast, go about to bring a file into your conscience so you can direct your thoughts, that way. Okay, let's go back to the brain and how to produce pleasure. There is actually a pathway that begins with, what are you looking here? The message goes through your thalamus, and your thalamus sends signals into your neocortex, okay? And then it's also going here to the amygdala, in this region here, and of course into the amygdala, into the hippocampus. Now, when the relay of this information means good, okay, then this process are creating these chemicals that make you feel good, serotonin, dopamine, and some of the chemicals that bring this pleasure and joy. Okay. Now, can this mechanism can be hacked? Yes, they can. Okay. How you hack this? Well, hey, you're under stress, and there is not enough dopamine and serotonin. You feel down. You feel unmotivated. Bored. Don't know what to do. You don't feel motivated to do the things you like to do anymore. So you can actually alter and bring joy. Okay, all you have to do is just change the chemistry inside the brain, okay, and your body. How do you change the chemistry? You just take some alcohol, or smoke a cigarette, or take a marijuana, or perhaps go and play poker. No? So this actually will alter. You're going to process this pathway to be activated, so you can bring dopamine and some of these other joy, feel good, pleasure, chemicals. Of course, this is not a solution because this way to alter and produce these chemicals in the brain and the body will actually create a lot of damage. Okay, a lot of damage. Chronic stress, can actually, if it's handled that way by using chemicals, okay, to bring back your feel better emotion, feel good emotions and happiness, then you're going to hack this area. The problem is that you always want more. When you do it that way, you always want more. It's not enough. Okay. When the brain does produce these chemicals, it's always balanced. It's always, very balanced in a way that not only the brain have a benefit, but also your whole body. Okay. Okay. Now, we'll talk about pain right now. We all know how it works. Okay. You have the stimulus here. We got a little trauma. This cells send a signal through your spinal cord. Then the brain knows that you have something happen there. The brain responds with the chemical, and the chemical produces the pain. Okay, very straightforward. Okay, while the body is being healed of this trauma, okay, the brain cells control these chemicals just to be sure that there's not much, because as this is healing, this is going to be actually reduced in the amount of chemicals of pain. And this is done by other chemicals like endorphins, So when when there is emotional pain, see, the brain has a way also to produce endorphins, to assure that you don't go to depression, assure that you don't go to stay with a lot of emotional pains. In the case of anxiety, the brain has another thing, that is going to help. Benzodiazepine is going to be produced. So if ever you're going to start feeling anxiety, that's going to regulate a boy from having anxiety, because that's not a good news for your body or your brain. So, but At the end of the day, when it comes to pain, pain produced by the brain, okay, the pain is only a positive thing. It's just to help you, okay. But what about the emotional pain? Okay, the emotional pain comes this way. Okay, you produce the thought, you think something that is not good. My wife doesn't love me. My son is lazy. I'm broke. I will never gonna have money. I will never succeed, or he's not gonna change. Those are corrosive thoughts. So we produce this. The brain, turns the stress mechanism. This goes into the body. These chemicals goes everywhere through your nerve system and your bloodstream. The whole body responds with an emotion, okay? And then the emotion, is just a response. If I'm thinking insecure thoughts, if I think insecure thoughts, then I'm going to feel insecure. The feeling of insecure is from the body. The 70 trillion cells are sending signals back, okay? That's the emotion, okay? Now, this happens so you can stop thinking that way. Stop it. The body is saying, stop to think that way. You're going to make us sick. It's the message from the body. Emotions and negative emotions are not bad. They're just a message from the body saying, stop it. This is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt the whole body. We're down here, okay, and we need you healthy because, we need to continue growing. We need to continue repairing because, this body is only 60 years old. He still needs to run with his grandkids. He still needs to go and do a lot of things for other people. All right. So if we don't listen to this, then what will happen? If we don't pay attention to this, the intensity, now pain comes. Okay. Start with emotions, then you're going to have emotional pain. That's just a response. You're not paying attention. The body continues. Why is doing this? The body is trying to avoid from having all these stress hormones circulating through the plasma because it's affecting the development, the regeneration. So the body is sending those. Now it has to give you pain. This emotion will produce pain. Okay. Now, unfortunately, this is the biggest problem we make. We associate pain to the person who we've been thinking bad about, okay? Let's say if I'm thinking my spouse doesn't love me, there's going to be some, emotions that are going to be produced. If I keep thinking in the same stuff over and over and over, then it's going to be pain. The biggest problem is if I associate the pain to my spouse. Now, if I do that, I'm going to label my spouse like the person that's producing the pain. But in reality, it wasn't her. It was just my thoughts. My thoughts create this cycle of problems, and my thoughts create activation of the stress mechanism. My thought will actually do the damage. But now, because my brain is to protect me, if we label this way, my brain is going to sabotage in the future. If I want to get back and try to love my wife, my brain is going to try to avoid it. Okay. If I'm thinking that my father is the one that created this, I'm going to try to avoid to hug him, to be close to him. If I'm thinking that my son is what it makes me feel this way, it's going to happen the same. Let's say I start thinking that my son is lazy, and I repeat this, it's going to create some emotional feelings, Then if I continue doing the same, there's going to be pain. Then I'm going to think eventually my son is the one that created this pain. I associate that to him. And then guess what happened? You're going to start disconnecting with him. You can be driving with him for about an hour. You probably won't even be able to talk much, So this is what the issue of pain and joy. And we need to avoid to label anything. Every time we have pain that's emotional, is always related to our thoughts. Okay. Now I can say, hey, I have evidence. I do have evidence. Really, he's the one that's creating it. Okay. Well, it doesn't matter because our hippocampus knows exactly all our mistakes. So we can't judge anyone. We can't, go and try to complain about things because we already made mistakes. So, but when there is, this chronic stress, there's a challenge. With chronic stress, the hippocampus get blocked by the amount of stress mechanisms turn on, by the amount of cortisol and all the chemicals that are coming through the bloodstream, through the brain, and will affect the way I think. I cannot think anymore very clear, and I can make a big thing out of something that eventually will affect my emotional and also my health. Okay, next topic we're going to discuss now, communication. Okay, what is your quality of communication with yourself? You know, really, this is what it is. If you see here what's happening in this scene, it had nothing to do with her. You know, it is what is here. Okay, what he's thinking is what is creating this separation. The same thing here with nothing to do with her is what she has right here. So basically, communication is vital, and we're going to talk about it right now. And it's important to connect with others. If I want to feel good, you know, I need to communicate very well. Okay, and if I expect results favorable for me and everybody, then I have to really communicate well. Now, the type of life we have is related to the quality of the communication. Now, all this depends on our ability to communicate too. And communication, will determine success in achieving your goals. To stay married, to maintain connect with your spouse and your kids, to have a good relationship with friends, you know, at work with your clients or the people you are dealing with. Now, but all this communication and success, all this, it depends on this. How you're communicating with yourself. Because the first person with whom you have to communicate very efficiently is with you. What are you telling to yourself? Because, you know, every thought you create in your mind, every question you ask yourself, every meaning you give to things, label that you place to assign others or yourself, any judgment you make, that's the means of communication to yourself. Every single thing you say. The first responsibility is to ensure that this information is very objective, and 100% of this information that you are creating is based on truthfulness, integrity, you know, moral and ethical values, if you really wish to be happy. If it's missing any of this, then what you're going to place in your mind, okay, is going to really affect the way you communicate with others, because the communication will be very poor. Okay, we're going to put excuses in the way how we think, in the way how we do things, in our behavior, and that's not, you know, to be happy. Now we communicate in the beginning with the conscience. Okay, we talk about this. This information is going to be filed in some subconscious. This should be positive. It has to be clear and protect the integration of moral and ethical values to produce coherence in brain circuitry. I talk about coherence, okay, because, you know, there is components of the brain that has the emotions file in different type of neurons, you know, positive emotions in the amygdala, and the positive emotions in the hippocampus, negative emotions are filed in the amygdala. Now, and there is a lot of different brain circuitries that takes place from this point. Okay, so we have to be clear. Okay, if it's not coherence, if it's incoherence, let's say in my conscience I'm thinking, okay, I'm happy, but I don't feel happy. I don't feel. Okay. If I start thinking, you know, I say to other people, I love my son, but I don't feel I love. This incoherence, you know, is created because, you know, there's an issue that has to be dealt with. Okay. Now, language that you use to communicate with yourself must be positive. Okay. Eliminate words like I do not serve, I do not deserve because I always have made mistakes, or nobody understands me. Life is not fair. I will never improve or surpass myself. I don't have enough money. They don't change. I won't change. Okay, my situation will stay there. People take advantage, or I'm stupid. Nobody knows how to do things right here. Well, all this language is not appropriate because every time you say this, you are reinforcing information that you have, okay, and you are actually creating stronger circuitry. And let me tell you what that means. That means in chemistry in the brain means more BDNF. This is a chemical. They actually secure the connection and maintain the connection of the circuitries of anything that you don't want to be connected and maintain it strong. And this is also good for good things too. So if you think in something productive, positive, same thing happens. Circuitry becomes stronger, and then you have more of these chemicals that actually improve the potentialization of these neurons, and it makes very strong connection. Okay. Now, in regard to communications, we can be repressed, communicating with other repressing it, or we can be verbal. I mean, we can go and say, geez, I really had to say the truth, and I had to let this person know, that is not good, and I got to teach, somebody has to teach this, or I can even use some not good language too. This is not good. Okay, confrontation destroys the quality of communication. This format doesn't work at all. Okay, some psychologists were trying to use this in the past, and it creates more of a mess in the relationship. Okay, so we have to now avoid using this method. Okay, now how about repressing thoughts? Repressing does not work either. Okay, it'll eventually bring depression, explosion, and we just explode. Okay. Now, one thing to remind is that we are creating this story. Everything that we put in our mind, we are the artists. We are the one that are making it. Okay, it's nobody else. It's not my cousin. It's not my sister, my mother, my wife. Anything that happens that is creating pain, okay, depression, is creating anxiety. It is the result of a number of circuitries that we're reinforcing and thinking over and over. Okay, and then we make it automatic. It becomes a cycle that where stress, continues, turning on. Okay. Now, the way to change now is we have to create a new communication with myself. So we're going to start avoiding, as a message, avoid all these terms that you use in your vocabulary, in your mind, okay, in regard to you others, because these things can become labels. This girl here is just she's labeled herself. Okay, she's been placing a lot of information for years. Okay, I'm not good. Maybe nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, people use me. So and you're going to see something interesting. That people can get out of some situations, after some suffering, but they always go back to do the same. A few years later or a year later, they go back to the same type of relationships, same type of behavior, same type of things. And, you might pass and say, man, what happened? And why are we doing this? Well, every time you bring this up, nobody loves me, you create in your environment, okay? And it's in the subconscious, okay? Every time you say, money doesn't really grow on tree, or you're saying there's no opportunities, I cannot change, I cannot improve my life, you're labeling yourself, okay? And this actually is what it makes you be who you are. This becomes your personality, okay? And this can be changed, okay? Okay. Let's talk about feelings, okay? In regard to feelings, the feelings we have is related to the communication with ourselves, the response to others, and the meaning that we give to things, to other people, and ourselves. Okay, this is an example. Okay, this lady sounds very happy. It really is everything related to what she had here. It had nothing to do with money, nothing to do with other people. Okay, so if happiness and feeling good is only related to how other people treat me, and the money I can have, or the titles, or the positions, or the power I have, that's not going to bring happiness. That's not, it's a guarantee that it's not going to make you feel good all the time. There got to be some changes. Of course, we need finances, we need things, but in regard to the way how we feel, happiness, okay, peace, Okay, it's all related to the circuitries that are in the brain, what you are entertaining, and that's what it makes finally that final cut in how we feel. Okay? So really the communication is vital. I can feel cold, very cold. I can feel that, I don't like this food. I don't like the weather. See, and of course, if I say, it's so cold, it's going to be cold there, then it really is. Your body has systems to regulate temperature. But of course, if it's cold outside and I repeat in my mind, it's cold, it's cold, it's cold. So this thing is going to activate or under-regulate, of course, the hormone system, thyroids and some other hormones. And then, of course, my body is going to be colder if I go out there. I'm going to feel colder. The same as when it's hot. So really, it's not only about, thoughts and emotions, and it has to do about almost anything that we touch, whether it's weather or whatever. Okay. Now, in regard to feelings, do I need anyone to love me to feel happy? Okay, this is something that quite interesting. There is uh, teachings in psychology and neuroscience in the past that indicates that really, who we are and how we feel is all about genes. Okay, of course, this is old thing. There's been a new thing which is been epigenetics. Now, after that, right there around the 90s and 80s, it was no longer only genes. Now the next thing was, it was about everybody else's behavior outside you. That's what is going to make you happy, or the way how you feel. In the latest scientific information, now we understand that it's not really the case. Okay, that a lot of this has to do with the circuitries you create, the thought that you actually produce and that integrate information in the brain. Okay, now let's say in the case of an event, somebody I see, and I feel different. Let's say I'm a single person, and I'm a single young person, and I see a girl there, and it makes me feel excited, happy. Okay, so my brains increase dopamine, oxytocin, and many chemicals and hormones that make me feel very good when I see the person. Now, what if the person touch my hand? Oh my goodness, I feel good. Or if he kiss me, feel great. So all these chemicals are produced. Now, it was the kiss that it made me feel that great? Okay, not really. It was the meaning. See what it means. Okay, it was the meaning of the experience. Now, this kiss is not create the feelings. For instance, a cat who you know, who know me and kiss me, it will never make me feel the same if a cat kiss me or somebody doesn't kiss me. So how this integrated information comes. So previously in my brain, in my subconscious, I had to integrate information. Of course, it's done very slowly. So here my mind is, okay, if somebody kisses me that he looks this way and has these color eyes and this hair and it talks this way, so it's already wired. Okay? It shows up. Okay, so if it shows up, then I'm gonna feel immediately my brain is gonna fire. Okay, and that's what happened. Of course, if the person hold my hand and kiss me, it wouldn't make me feel great. So neither the words, or the passionate kiss is what it brings all these wonderful feelings, but it really what it means. And what it meant to my brain, it was when the person like this, with these characteristics, shows up, that is what it turns on. Everything else. So if somebody says that he loves you and knows you passionately, this will produce very beautiful feelings. Okay, but what if a person that in my brain there is not even any kind of connection, or even I have some bad feelings, and he tells me I love you, doesn't mean anything. So it could happen too. If for any reason, our behavior have produced certain distance and disconnection with your kids, with our kids, and then suddenly I say, I love you, that won't mean anything to the boy or the girl because my behavior has produced certain information in her brain. There's distance. My behavior has produced, this distance, and the label displays is, okay, I care about anything but about her. And if I kiss my daughter in the cheek, she just doesn't mean anything. Doesn't want the kiss. Okay. Now, the way how we convey and give messages as we communicating between people, come in this way. Okay, it comes as a love. This is a response, or we can respond in a different way. Okay, we can respond with love, empathy, compassion, and patience. So this is the only two ways how we communicate with people. Or we can communicate in another way is when we asking desperately for help. And here is the manifestation. And the second way of communicating. We do this sometimes. We do this sometimes. Okay. Now, anger, frustration, disappointment, resentment, indifference. That's only the person that is responding this way is only telling you, "I need help." Okay, he's desperately in need of help. So that is something that we have to understand. Okay, he's telling you he needs help. Don't label the person by what he sees or what you see or you hear. If you react and respond the same way, there will be two people in need of help. And there will be never a response of love, and that's what really it was needed. No one gets help in this situation. So I hope you memorize this. If your son comes upset or your spouse, all he's telling you is, I need help. People don't know how to communicate. They trap. If I'm resented, that means I have a lot of imbalance in my brain and my body. I have placed a lot of negative thoughts. Now I'm trapped. Okay? And then the only answer, the only way how we can really heal is by loving and compassion. And we're going to teach you how to do this in the next lessons. Okay. So remember, when a person is angry, this is just an emotional expression. There is no, could be for the person, a meaning, no respect for me. I have no control. They do not love me. We care. Okay. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares. Nothing in this life really has any meaning until we give one. So we have to really define. For example, this person here, okay, he just label things. There's no respect for me. Nobody cares for me. Okay? So he plays a bunch of thoughts, eventually label himself, and then now he's exploring anger. Now, we are the one that put those labels prior to people or the object, okay, or interpreting an event. This is our own communication. Once the label is placed into the experience, then it becomes your experience. Then between the label, we put communication, a misinterpretation, we see others as the one who are creating that emotional state in us. And automatically we say that she or her are the one that creating these feelings of pain on us. Of course, others can start the atmosphere of hostility, but we determine how we feel. So anyways, now we understand what's the process here. Now, what does it mean when we feel pain, anger, or uncomfortable? This is a negative emotion. It's determined by the perception of having lost something. We think we lost something, maybe love, respect, control, or some expectations. For this feeling to arise, we have to communicate again with ourselves, telling us that we have lost. You have to repeat that yourself. Okay. The meaning you give depends on your belief. What else? Because it just doesn't happen suddenly. You got already have wired some information previously. This limited belief, okay, establish what you repeat in your mind, okay, over and over, certain types of thoughts. Okay, there is always a foundation. There's a history of thoughts, and we're going to teach you through this process and how you can find, where this is coming from, so you can edit it. Some of these labels that's in the subconscious. Now, we can probably say, do we really miss something? I mean, this is a question. Well, not really. Okay, never nothing is lost. Okay, love or respect, compassion. This is part of us, our spirit. It's internal. Respect cannot be taken away because someone said something. Okay, even if you use a strong voice, it should not be create angry if we are well. But if we are not doing well, emotionally, then of course it's going to affect. If the communication with ourselves is not appropriate, then if we can create the illusion that the person has something against me, this illusion is going to make you feel bad. The second step is to feel hurt. And this process can be fast or slow. For example, pain because somebody is dishonest. We feel hurt. Okay? We can interpret that somebody is dishonest. And as we feel this emotional state, we initiate other irrational thoughts as the other person responds to these comments. If you respond with love, you're never going to be wrong. There's going to be never is going to be a misinterpretation of this. By responding with love, you will have benefits and feelings, and the person you are communicating with also receive the help you need. So this is the last part of the session. I hope this information can help you. We talk about intention. Okay, really, there's a process here, and we're going to discuss more in the next session about how these intentions, initiate sequence of circuitries to fire in our brain, how we can start making changes. Okay, final part of this presentation, labels. Okay, let's avoid to do this. We label people lazy, dishonest, indifferent, insensitive, calculating, abusive, lying, incapable, ignorant, irresponsible, sarcastic, shy, etc. Now, when a situation is present, the meaning we give to that experience can be labeled incorrectly. If we do not know in details, we need to know 100% every aspect of the physical, emotional, spiritual, and intellectual condition of the person. Only if you know all this perfectly, this will create a way to communicate with the person in the future. Okay, so it's important that we really understand. Now, we don't know everything. I don't even know about me. There's a lot of things I don't know about me. I'm still learning because there is stuff that I have probably hide somewhere in my subconscious. I made it automatic. So at worst, I could judge someone else. So if you label anybody, okay, and you don't have all this 100%, then you better don't do that. Okay, label requires a lot of mental work, perceiving, interpreting, thinking, and making wrong communication with ourselves. It's a lot of work. This is not just an easy thing. It takes a lot of energy, and it will create, information that is going to be set in your subconscious, by which you're going to filter everything that you see in the exterior world. Okay, I close. These are the assignments. I hope you can read this. These assignments are created to help you sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system. This is very important that you do it. There is some other thing required for you to start using some part of your body, to start getting wired between different regions of the brain. Some applied phytostress, if you don't have it, be sure you call the doctor that invite you or the therapist or distributor. Yeah. On the other hand, be sure there's 8 hours sleep. If you don't have if you have some problems, also you can use phytosleep as a source of help, to assure that there is the needed hours sleep, because this is going to help your brain. These other assignments, be sure that you practice it. We're going to be actually helping our parasympathetic nerve systems. Okay, and I wish you the best. I hope this lesson will help to communicate what we really want to do, and what we want to do is helping all of us and helping you to improve your life. Thank you very much. I hope you have success. These changes requires some skills. These skills will require some changes also, on the way how you focus. We are I'm gonna write here an assignment that you're gonna have beside this. There is a website. I want you to go www.brainhq. You can sign with your name and your email address. And as you sign, don't make any payment. Just go to the free site. There's exercise want you to do so you can start learning how to focus. Because in order for us to change and edit it, information that there is filed in our subconscious, and we need to have the skills to work with metacognition. And for that, we need to have balance in our parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. And also, we need to actually also reduce the amount of cortisol that is circulating through the bloodstream. So this is a practice. I do 15 minutes every day. Go to Brain HQ and do your practice every day, 15 minutes. That's going to help you to get focused and learn how to make up focus. So thank you very much. I hope we'll do great.